जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। विजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन। यमुनतीरा वनचारि यमुनतीरा वनचारि यमुनतीरा वनचारि। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनंदन व्रजजनरञ्जन। यमुनतीरा वनचारि यमुनतीरा वनचारि। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा गोविंद राधे। जय राधा गोविंद राधा। जय जय Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Jaya Mishnapad Paramahamsa Pariraj Kacharya Stotra Shata Srimad Srinabhai Charan Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jaya Mishnapad Paramahamsa Pariraj Stotra Shata Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Vairagya Murti Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Sachidananda Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Sri Rup Sanatana Raghunath Das Raghunath Bhatta Sri Jiva Gopal Sri Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय. मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय. नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय. अयोध्या द्वारका धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र की जगन्नाथ भदे सुभद्रामय जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Today, on the auspicious occasion of appearance day of Lord Bhuvaraha Swami, we will try Srimad Bhagavata Puranam, 3rd canto, 13th chapter, the appearance of Lord Varaha. This is actually translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we will try to read from this 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 13th chapter, the appearance of Lord Varaha. First sloka. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from the sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality Godhead, which he adored to hear. Text 2. Vidura said, O great sage, what did Swayambhuva Manu, the dear son of Brahma, do after obtaining his very loving wife? Text 3. O best of the virtuous, the original king of kings, Manu, was a great devotee of the personality of Godhead Hari. And thus it is worth hearing of his sublime character and activities. Please describe them. I am very eager to hear. Text 4. Persons who hear from a spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouths of pure devotees about the character and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their hearts of the lotus feet of the personality Godhead who awards his devotees liberation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said the personality Godhead Sri Krishna was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words and being influenced by his spirit, he attempted to speak. Text 6. The sage Maitreya said to Vidura, after his appearance, Manu, the father of mankind, along with his wife, thus addressed the reservoir of Vedic wisdom, Brahma, with obeisances and folded hands. 7. You are the father of all living entities and the source of their subsistence because they are all born of you. Please order us how we may be able to render service unto you. O worshipful one, please give us your direction for the execution of duty within our working capacity so that we can follow it for fame in this life and progress in the next. Next, number 9. Lord Brahma said, My dear son, O Lord of the world, I am very pleased with you and I desire all blessings for both you and your wife. You have without reservation surrendered yourself unto me with your heart for my instructions. O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. This sort of adoration for the superior is required. One who is beyond the limit of envy and who is sane accepts the order of his father with great delight and executes it to his full capacity. Since you are my very obedient son, I ask you to beget children qualified like yourself in the womb of your wife. Rule the world in pursuance of the principles of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality Godhead, and thus worship the Lord by performances of yajna. O king, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be a good protector of the conditioned souls, certainly the master of the senses will be very pleased with you. The Supreme Personality Godhead Janardana Lord Krishna is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice. If he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile. He is his ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interest. Sri Manu said, O all-powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place and that of the living entities born of me. Text 15. O Master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place for all the living entities. It can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. Text 16. Sri Maitreya said, thus seeing the earth merged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to know to how it could be lifted. Text 17. Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depths of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in this matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. So we'll read from here onwards. Detailing we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 13th chapter, 18th verse. Iti abidyato nasa, iti abidyayato nasa, iti abidyayato nasa, vivarat sahasanga, vivarat sahasanaga, varahato ko niragad angusta parimanakah, iti abidyayato nasa, vivarat sahasanaga, varahato ko niragad angusta parimanakah, iti abidyayato nasa, vivarat sahasanaga, varahato ko niraghad angusta parimanakah. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. Text number 19. Tasya vipashyatah kastah kshanena kila bharata gajamatrah pravavruddhe tad adbhutam abhum mahat tasya vipashyatah kastah kshanena kila bharata gajamatrah pravavruddhe tat adbhutam abhum mahat. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O descendant of Bharata, while Brahma was observing him, that boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation as gigantic as a great elephant. Text number 20. Marichi pramukhair vipraihi kumarair manuna saha drishtva tat saukaram rupam tarkayam asha chitradha. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma with great brahmanas like Marichi as well as the Kumaras and Manu began to argue in various ways. Kim etat sukar vyajam satvam divyam avastitam aho batascharya idam nashayame vinihristam. Translation. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the presence of a boar? It is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. 22. Drusto angusta shiro matraha kshanad gandashila samaha apisvid bhagavanesha yagno me kedayan manaha. Translation. Purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality Godhead Vishnu? Since Brahma is the supermost person in the universe and he had never before experienced such a form, he could guess that the wonderful appearance of the boar was an incarnation of Vishnu. The uncommon features symptomatic of the incarnation of Godhead can bewilder even the mind of Brahma. Text 23. Iti mimam shatastasya brahmanah sahasunubihi bhagavan yagna purusho jagarjangendra sannibaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality Godhead Vishnu roared tumultuously like a great mountain. It appears that great hills and mountains also have their roaring power because they are also living entities. The volume of the sound vibrated is in proportion to the size of the material body. While Brahma was guessing about the appearance of the Lord's incarnation as a boar, the Lord confirmed Brahma's contemplation by roaring with his gorgeous voice. Brahmanam harshayam asha haristamscha dvijotaman swagarjitena kukubaha pratiswa nayata vibuhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. Purport. Brahma and other enlightened Brahmanas who know the Supreme Personality of Godhead are enlivened by the appearance of the Lord in any of His multi-incarnations. The appearance of the wonderful and gigantic incarnation of Vishnu as the mountain-like boar did not fulfill them with any kind of fear. Although the Lord's resounding voice was tumultuous and echoed horribly in all directions as an open threat to all demons who might challenge His omnipotency. Text 25. Nishamyate gargaritam swakedha Kshayisnu maya maya shukarasya janastapaha satya nivasinaste tribihi pavitrair munayo grunan sma. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapoloka and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, which was the all-auspicious sound of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas. Purport. The word Maya is very significant in this verse. Maya means mercy, specific knowledge and also illusion. Therefore, Lord Boar is everything. He is merciful. He is all knowledge. He is also illusion also. He is illusion also. The sound which he vibrated as a boar incarnation was answered by the Vedic hymns of the great sages in the planets Janaloka, Tapoloka and Satyaloka. The highest intellectual and pious living entities live in those planets, and when they heard the extraordinary voice of the boar, they could understand that the specific sound was vibrated by the Lord and no one else. Therefore, they replied by praying to the Lord with Vedic hymns. The earth planet was submerged in the mire But on hearing the sound of the Lord, the inhabitants of the higher planets were all jubilant because they knew that the Lord was there to deliver the earth. Therefore, Brahma and all the sages, such as Bhrigu, Brahma's other sons, and learned Brahmanas, were enlivened, and they concertedly joined in praising the Lord with the transcendental vibrations of the Vedic hymns. The most important is the Brihan Naradiya Purana verse: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Text 26. Tesham satam veda vitana murtir brahmavadharyatma gunanubhadam vinadya bhuyo vibudo dayaya gajendra ililo jalam avivesha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Playing like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The form of the Lord in any shape is always transcendental and full of knowledge and mercy. The Lord is the destroyer of all material contamination because his form is personified Vedic knowledge. All the Vedas worship the transcendental form of the Lord. In the Vedic mantras, the devotees request the Lord to remove the glaring effulgence because it covers his real face. That is the version of the Ishopanishad. The Lord has no material form, but his form is always understood in terms of Vedas. The Vedas are said to be the breath of the Lord, and that breath was inhaled by Brahma, the original student of the Vedas. The breathing from the nostril of Brahma caused the appearance of Lord Boar, and therefore the Boar incarnation of the Lord is the personified Vedas. The glorification of the incarnation by the sages on the higher planets consisted of factual Vedic hymns. Whenever there is a glorification of the Lord, it is to be understood that Vedic mantras are being rightly vibrated. The Lord was therefore pleased with such Vedic mantras. When such Vedic mantras were chanted, and to encourage his pure devotees, he roared once more and entered the water to rescue the submerged earth. Text 27. Utshipta valaha kacharah katorah sata vidunvan kara romashatvak kurahatabrah Sita Damstra Iksha Jyotir Babase Bhagavan Mahidraha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering, his very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. When the Lord is offered prayers by his devotees, his transcendental activities are described. Here are some of the transcendental features of Lord Boar. As the residents of the upper three planetary systems offered their prayers to the Lord, it is understood that his body expanded throughout the sky, beginning from the topmost planet Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that his eyes are the sun and the moon, therefore his very glance over the sky was illuminating as sun or the moon. The Lord is described herein as Mahidraha, which means either a big mountain or the sustainer of the earth. In other words, the Lord's body was as big and hard as the Himalayan mountains. Otherwise, how was it possible that he kept the entire earth on the support of his white tusks? The poet Jayadeva, the great devotee of the Lord, has sung of the incident in his prayers for the incarnations. Vasati dashana shikare dharani tavalagna sasini kalanka kaleva nimagna keshavadruta shukara rupa Jai Jagadhisha Hare, Jaya Jagadhisha Hare, Jaya Jagadhisha Hare. All glories to Lord Keshava, Krishna, who appeared as the boar, The earth was held between his tusks, which appeared like the scars on the moon. 28. Granena prithvyah padavim vijighram क्रोधापदेशः स्वयं अध्वरांगः कराळदंस्त्रोऽपि अकराळदीर्घ्याम् उद्वीक्ष्य विप्रान् गृणतो विशत्कम्. Translation, purport by His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee Brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. We should always remember that although the body of a hog is material, the hog form of the Lord was not materially contaminated. It is not possible for an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form spreading throughout the sky, beginning from the Satyaloka. His body is always transcendental in all circumstances. Therefore, this assumption of the form of a boar is only his pastime. His body is all Vedas or transcendental, but since he had assumed the form of a boar, he began to search out the earth by smelling, just like a hog. The Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity. The gigantic features of the boar was certainly very fearful for all non-devotees, but to the pure devotees of the Lord he was not at all fearful. On the contrary, he was so pleasingly glancing upon his devotees that all of them felt transcendental happiness. Text 29. Savajra kutanga nipata vega visirna kukshihi stanayan udanvan utrista dirgormi bujair ivartas chukrosha yagneshwara pahi meti. Translation by purport by His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Diving into the water like a gigantic mountain, Lord Boar divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, "So Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me into. Kindly give me protection." Purport. Even the great ocean was perturbed by the falling of the mountain-like body of the transcendental boar, and it appeared to be frightened as if death were imminent. Text 30. Kuraihi kshura prair darayamstad apa utpar param triparu rashayam dadarshagam tatra susupsur agre yam jiva danim swayam adyadatta. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean. Although it was unlimited, he saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Purport. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The word Rasayam is sometimes interpreted to mean Rasatala, the lower planetary system, but that is not applicable in this connection. According to Vishwanath Chakra Thakura, the earth is 7 times superior to the other planetary systems, namely Tala, Atala, Talatala, Vitala, Rasatala, Padala, etc. Therefore, the earth cannot be situated in the Rasatala planetary system. It is described in Vishnu Dharma, Patala Muleshwara Bhoga Samhatau Vinyasya Padau Prithivim Cha Vibhrataha Yasyopamano Na Babuva Sa So Achyuto Mamastu Mangalya Vivruddhaye Harihi. Therefore the Lord found the earth on the bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean, where the planets rest during the devastation at the end of Brahma's day. Text 31. Swadamstra yodrutya mahim nimagnam sa utitaha samruruche rashayaha tatrapi daityam gadaya patantam sunaba Pita Tivra Manyuhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Lord Boar very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then his anger glowing like the Sudarshana wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Vedic literatures describe the incarnation of Lord Varaha Boar in two different devastations, namely the Chakshama devastation and the Swayambhuva devastation. This particular appearance of the boar incarnation actually took place in the Swayambhuva devastation, when all planets other than the higher ones, Jana, Mahar and Satya, merged in the water of devastation. This particular incarnation of the boar was seen by the inhabitants of the planets mentioned above. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti suggests that the sage Maitreya amalgamated both the boar incarnation in different devastations and summarized them in his description to Vidura.